I have a hypothesis. Because of the high burden of regulations and strong network effects, corporations have bogus hiring practices and a bunch of HR voodoo. For those who don't know, the best predictor for job performance for a given pool of applicants, recognizing that there's going to be some self-selection for people who apply for any given position, but the best predictor, or what explains most of the variance, more variance than anything else, including education level, is IQ in terms of subjective job performance ratings. Now, and the college cult, of course, is causing people to go get degrees that are of dubious practical value. I used to believe that engineering degrees, well, maybe engineering for like chemical engineering would be different, but I used to think, for example, computer engineering degrees were really valuable. But having talked to people who got them, they are saying that they don't use much of anything that they learned in school. Much of what they learned in school was already obsolete by the time they got their job. But so even the quant degrees or the STEM degrees may be of questionable value. Certainly, questionable value for the 4 years you actually spend there. Okay. Anyway, but of course, if you get a degree in English or history or philosophy or something, that's just ass crap. Um, and I believe something like half of all people are getting degrees in that. But anyway, so college is of dubious value, especially when you consider it's 4 years. But if you don't go to college at all, then you stand out as a loser and nobody wants to hire you. So you have to go. Um, Brian Kaplan talked about this, saying it's similar to a concert where, oh, if you want to get a better view of the concert, everyone's in the stands. If you want to get a better view of the concert, what you should do is stand up. Then you'll be above everyone, and then you have a better view. So, if everyone wants to get a better view of the concert, well, then everyone should stand up, right? Right? Of course, no. Right? It's only a relative thing. Similarly, going to college is like standing up. That's what he's saying. Okay, but you have to go, and so people feel held down. They have to go to college, which is a bunch of bullshit. Then they get out of college. They're shocked at how this college degree is not a golden ticket. Okay, and then they go to work and find themselves working way below their potential, and find that it's not quite as meritocratic as they believed. Recently, I've got a job, and I'm in my opinion I'm working way below my potential. But I I guess I was prepared for it. Like I kind of knew what would happen, and so I'm going in, um, well, basically fixing people's computer problems, uh, and it's way below what I could be doing. But I'm not particularly mad about it because it's like when going in, I knew what I had to do. I knew that if there's some way of doing things that could be more efficient. I knew to just do the less efficient way. I knew that people would be stuck in their old ways, even if there's an obviously better way of doing it, and so don't bother. So I'm not getting really depressed about any of this. I know a lot of people. I think what happens to a lot of people, they go to jobs and they think that, oh, if I have a good suggestion, they'll take it up right away. I never had that illusion, and so perhaps I'm more mentally prepared. I was more mentally prepared for it than most people are. Anyway, um, so people feel that they're being held down in many ways. One by formal legal regulation, and another what I call the college cult and the corporate cult. Um, and there's just a seething web of difficulty that permeates anything you want to do. It's not like the olden days when to start a business, you just found some unused land, put a sign up, and started doing whatever the business required. If you wanted to be a barber, you need to make sure you knew how to be a barber and you had the proper equipment. But that's it. Got the equipment, got a place to do it. That's it. That's all you need, more or less. Okay, or you want to be a taxi driver? Well, just find an old car, fix it up, and put a sign that says taxi, and now you're a taxi. Okay, and so people could start businesses and start doing things quickly and easily. And while you could say, oh, that's bad because the taxi could be a kidnapping operation or something. It could be, and you could say, well, we need all these regulations for health and safety and blah 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 blah. You could say something like that, and we could have an argument about that. I would say no, it's better to have a more open business environment. But at any rate, you need to recognize that all of these things make it harder to get ahead, right? It's a much more closed way of doing things, and the result is it becomes more of a progressive caste system. You go to college and you jump through these hoops and you get promoted based more on time and seniority, as opposed to having some great idea that you pop out and do something cool. And so the world is not like that anymore. And so everyone is held down, and it's palpable. People can feel it, feel the frustration in why their life doesn't seem to be going anywhere. It isn't starting, even though they know they have the capacity to do a lot more. Okay, if you're black, you may be tempted to believe that this holding down, this web of difficulty, is white privilege. It's something that white people don't face, but black people do, and that's why black people have all these worse. I mean, let's be clear. I mean, better or worse. That is subjective, but I would say that having less money, not living as long, having more crime, having more family issues, that these are worse things. These are bad things, right? That's not, you know. I think just about everyone recognizes that these are bad things. Having a broken home is a bad thing. Okay, drug addiction is a bad thing. Okay, and so if you're black, you may be tempted to believe that all of this hardship, and also blacks, of course, they face the college cult. Okay, they face HR. Okay, they face corporate politicking. They face a seniority bullshit. They face, bosses taking credit for what they do. They face all this crap too, okay? And if you're female, you might blame patriarchy, as for why you're being held down. Say, oh, there's a glass ceiling that only females, specifically females, face, right? Because of this palpable being held down, even though there's been studies that shown that when females don't have kids and get similar degrees to what males get, they earn about the same, right? The wage disparity between males and females can be attributed to females having kids, getting out of work because they have kids, and by getting stupider degrees. Females more likely to get degrees in English and Lit and humanities and history and all those bogus degrees, not the STEM degrees. And also the kind of labor that females do is not manual. It's not hard labor. Mining, being a mechanic, a plumber, right? Sort of welder. Females don't tend to do that as much, and so they tend to, do things like being working at a grocery store or working at the Gap or something. Those don't pay as well as kind of hard labor jobs. So, but when you control for the job that's being done and control for all these other things that separate males from females, females make about the same. There is no real glass ceiling. Okay, but that's not as important as I think blacks blaming their being held down on their race. Okay, if you're white, you don't have a mythos of racial oppression food sped to you, and if you're a white male, you don't even have a mythos of gender oppression being spoon-fed to you, okay? So if you're a white male, you are more likely to seek out real explanations for why you are held down, okay? Not unfalsifiable, unquantifiable explanations like white privilege and patriarchy, right? You recognize that you're being held down because of the laws that hold you down. You recognize that you went to college, you got a worthless degree because of the college cult, okay? And you recognize that the reason for bullshit, that bullshit hiring and promotion practices in companies managed to persist is because of an uncompetitive market, right? Because you don't have anywhere to go to, and because of heavy economic restrictions for you starting your own business. Okay, and of course, in a highly restricted economy, larger companies are at a comparative advantage because, for example, Walmart can just hire a staff of lawyers to, ensure regulatory compliance all the time. Whereas if you just have your own little shop, you have no way of doing this, right? And so Walmart has a certain economy of scale in regards to regulatory compliance. And so as a result, in a highly regulated economy, big business is at a comparative advantage compared to small business. Okay, so if you heavily regulate, quote unquote, the economy, you'll see small businesses start to go away, and big businesses and franchises start to take over, because they can weather the regulatory bullshit, and small businesses can't. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is just the hypothesis. Everyone feels like they're being held down because of the what I will call, in general, the seething web of difficulty. The seething web of difficulty is regulations on business, and the college cult and the corporate cult. And these all interplay. Like the regulations on business make it so that corporate hiring practices don't face competition, and so they're able to become ossified in their ways, and you have to basically put up with their bullshit because they're effectively a monopoly on you getting a job. And they're basically stuck in their ways, and there's no new businesses that can form, that can break them because of the heavily regulated economy. And so that's the seething web of difficulty. And this seething web of difficulty causes people in general to feel that they're being held down. Okay? And everyone is held down. And if you are black, if you are mestizo, and to a far lesser extent, if you are female, you may be tempted to believe that this being held down is something that specifically impacts you, when in fact it impacts everyone. So, and I believe that this goes a long way to explain the racial disparity, or why libertarians tend to be overwhelmingly white and male, because they don't have a backstory to say that this holding down is being specifically aimed at them.